Hello everyone. Today we are going to start Excel Unit 1, creating a worksheet and an embedded chart. There are a few things that I wanted to go over with you guys before we started this chapter or this unit. Obviously, the objectives: describe the Excel worksheet, enter text and numbers, use the sum button to sum a range of cells, and sum, all we're talking about here is adding. Copy the contents of a cell to a range of cells using the fill handle. Apply cell styles. Format cells in a worksheet. Create a clustered cylinder chart. Change a worksheet name and worksheet tab color. Change document properties. Preview and print a worksheet. Use the auto calculate area to display statistics and correct errors on a worksheet. First off, we want to answer the question, why use Excel? You thought we just got done with the Word unit and now we're going to learn something new. Well, in Excel, we are allowed to easily summarize and chart data, more so than in a Word document. And what does a chart convey? Well, to answer that question, it's a visual representation of the data that we're entering in. As you can see in the picture on the screen, you see the data on the left-hand side, and then you see that conveyed into a form of pie chart on the right-hand side. And obviously, the stuff on the left looks like a bunch of googly gump, okay? And then the stuff on the right, it's easier to identify exactly what we're looking at. Project planning guidelines. We want to establish why the worksheet is even needed. Why are we trying to do this? Analyze the intended users of the worksheet and their unique needs. You may be creating this worksheet for somebody else, and maybe what they're using it for is different than what you would use it for. Gather the information about the topic and decide what to include. And we'll go into more detail on this as we walk through the chapter's practice exercise. Determine the worksheet design and style that will be most successful in delivering the message. Once again, you want to take the audience into account. All right, now we're going to go over the general project guidelines. So obviously, this is getting a little bit more detailed. We want to select titles and subtitles for the worksheet. Follow the less is more guideline. Obviously, the less titles and subtitles we have, the more impact they're going to have on our audience. Determine the contents for rows and columns. Rows typically contain comparable items. Okay? Columns typically contain descriptive information. So row headings and column headings are usually in alphabetical order. Now you may have to change this up depending on the project that you're working on. It may make sense to put it in a different order, but by default you want to put them in alphabetical order. Determine the calculations that are needed. You can total your data in a variety of ways. It can be in currency, it can be just in the total amount that is ordered, things like that. Determine where to save the workbook. That's all we're talking about here is, are we going to save it to our hard drive, a flash drive, into My Big Campus? Where does this need to be saved? Identify how to format various elements of the worksheet. Overall appearance significantly affects ability to communicate. So we're talking about the shape, the size, color, position, things like that. Decide on the type of chart that you need. Each type is going to relay a different message about the data. So we saw a type of pie chart in the slide before this, and we're talking about cylinder charts. There's all different types. We'll go over more of those charts as we go through the chapter as well. Finishing up the project guidelines, we're going to establish where the position and how to format the chart. If possible, position the chart so that it prints with the worksheet data on a single page. The less pages, the better. Okay? Both should command the attention of the intended audience. Notice we keep going back to the intended user or the intended audience. Choose a name for the worksheet. Named to clarify its purpose. A good name is going to be brief and clearly expressed. It's unique to that workbook, and meaningful to any user. So no matter who you send it out to, they're going to be able to understand what is in each of those worksheets within the workbook. Determine the best method for distributing the workbook. So is this going to be paper? Are we going to print it off? Or is it electronically going to be distributed through email, maybe through a presentation? And obviously, this depends on the audience as well.